Good evening. My name is Shannon Brun. Today is Wednesday, August 24th, 2022. This is our Midweek Faith Lift, and I'm here with Audrey Ramsey. Hi, Audrey.
Hi,
How
Shannon.
are you today? How you doing?
I'm great. I am great.
Cool. We're here at the Midweek Faith Lift for Unity of Chattanooga's Midweek Faith Lift, and I'm joined here with Audrey Ramsey. She's actually a member of Unity of Chattanooga, and
I've been here for a long time, you know.
Yeah, you have been here.
Yeah,
a long time.
you're new to Chattanooga. I was born and raised here in Chattanooga,
Right.
and I went away in '89. And I'm just returning back home after, gosh, I hate to say how many years I've been gone.
Right.
It kind of ages me. But I just came back home about 4 years ago. And really that was after discovering there was a Unity of Chattanooga here.
Right.
Because I've kind of lived all over the country.
Right.
And basically everywhere I was relocated to by my company that I worked with, there was a unity.
Yeah.
Of.
Yeah. And so let me so what happened was you actually did our service on Sunday. You replaced my co-host, who's always here with me on Wednesday.
Right.
And I kind of want to explain to the viewers why you're here.
Okay.
And so you replaced our co-host, who Reverend Doug, who's usually here with me on Wednesday. And you replaced him for our Sunday service.
Right.
And you did a service on enthusiasm.
Enthusiasm.
Yes. So I
the
thought
art of enthusiasm.
the art of enthusiasm. And so I thought I'd bring you here to the Midweek Faith Lift to kind of give our viewers a boost. Because that's the purpose of the Faith Lift, is to kind of give information, to help us reach a higher consciousness, to help us to continue to grow, to be more Christ-like.
Yeah.
And so I figured I'd bring you here, and you can give us a little bit more of a in-depth understanding of the art of enthusiasm and what exactly is enthusiasm.
Well, Shannon, first of all, thank you for inviting
You're
me.
welcome.
You're such a fun guy anyway. So. And Shannon has been at Unity of Chattanooga right about the time when I came back home. And so we just instantly connect. But Unity people tend to do that.
Yeah.
You know, we don't meet any strangers.
Right.
But enthusiasm, what is it? Enthusiasm, if I had to really describe the words, it's just that feeling of joy, of happiness, of just, peace and calm, and nothing can touch you or take that away. You're just happy.
Yeah. There was a song that came out a couple years ago. You made me think about it. It was kind of like a hip hop song. Nothing can touch me. I'm all the way up. I'm all the way up. Nothing can touch me. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
That's what it's about.
Yeah.
And every time we reach that higher level of consciousness, which is within us to have that power of reaching a higher level of consciousness, it's just that enthusiasm that comes with it. Zeal, enthusiasm. So, yeah.
And you gave us a 4-step plan on how to maintain that enthusiasm.
Yeah, that's why I called it the art of enthusiasm. There are 4 steps to it. The first step is, of course, self-awareness, knowing who we are, who I am. And then the second step is letting go, because we hold on to so much sometimes. We have to let that go. And the third step is self-care. Take care of yourself before you can help anybody. You have to take care of yourself first. And then there's the 4th step. Communications between us, relationships and so forth, and the implementation of whatever that purpose is, because all these steps are put in place to help us create a purpose and knowing what our purpose is in life, and then we move forward with that implementation of what our purpose is.
It's so important to have I would say ways in which we can improve ourselves.
Yes.
And like you said, the first step is I think you said is self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
And it's so important to just have those ways of reaching that higher consciousness, because the way that the ego and the life that we are, the human flesh that we're in, and the day-to-day stuff that we have to go through, it's important that we stay elevated. And for you to lay out these 4 steps to keep us elevated is a wonderful thing. So can you go a little bit in detail about each step, if you don't mind?
Yeah, when you say, trying to self-awareness and understanding who I am, and this is how it works for me. Everybody has a different approach to it. And so this is kind of the plan that I adopted over the years of studying and practicing unity principles and combining those principles with the 12 powers. And enthusiasm is one of those 12 powers. And so what I discovered in connecting these principles and the powers was that it was a process of me knowing who I am. And one of the first principles is God, the absolute truth. That is the self-awareness approach of knowing our first principle. And that first principle has to do with God is absolute truth. And what is that truth? God is good. It's as simple as that. So if God is good and God dwells within me, and it's not this white guy sitting up on a cloud with the white beard and old and he's reaching down and looking at us and judging us. No. And when I learned that, that's what brought my enthusiasm on, because I realized God is inside of me.
Right. You are a child of God.
And I am a child of God. Yes.
So to be aware of that.
Yes, to be aware of that.
That is so important.
That is very important.
Yes.
And if God is good, and that is absolute truth, God is good, I am good.
You are good. No matter what may be happening in the flesh, no matter what we may be going through on a daily basis, when we attempt to reach that consciousness and we understand that we are a child of God, we can pretty much do anything.
But let me correct myself on something I just said. That's old white, and I didn't mean by racial color or tone. Old white-haired man. That could be, any race or anything. I wasn't calling out any race, but just the fact that this was the image that.
Of course, it was the image. Well, it was the image. I mean, and I was raised in the Baptist church, Pentecostal environment, Baptist, Pentecostal. Went back and forth, and that's the image that they had in church with a white man. With straight hair. Not to say, one thing I love about unity, there's no face.
No,
God is everywhere,
no face.
forever
it's a
present.
spirit. It's an energy.
Yes.
And that's where the enthusiasm comes in, to understand that we are all connected as energy.
Right.
We're connected with nature through energy.
Right.
Those atoms and even this table has energy.
The animals, the trees.
The animals, the trees.
Everything. So to have that awareness, that self-awareness, that you are a child of God, that you are inherently good, that's the first step.
That was the first step.
Right. And then the second step is
letting go. Because once you realize that you are creating your world, and your world is created from the thoughts that you are manifesting. Think about that. My thoughts manifest the world I create. So if I'm down and out all the time, or if I'm angry, then that's what I'm going to bring back to me, that kind of energy. But if I'm happy and I'm approaching things with the concern of others and the concern that I am living to do my best, then that brings about a different kind of energy, which is really a joyous energy for me.
So it's letting go of the stuff that no longer serve us.
And one of the things I like to say is we create our mess sometimes, and when we let go of that mess, we are creating a world of peace and calm.
I agree.
So it can be messy out there sometimes, and the outer world is messy, but recognizing that that's not who I am.
Right.
That outer world and what's going on, that's not who I am. But once I let go of that kind of thoughts, then I can move forward with what my real intentions are. And then that's identifying what my purpose is. So letting go. And when we talk about the ego, is one of those things where the ego blocks us all the time. And there's an acronym that I shared, on Sunday about ego means
edging God
out.
Yeah.
And so when you let the ego come into play,
that's always yappity going on all the time.
Yep. So.
Oh, what's interesting is you talked about the first step is self-awareness, which is something that is important. I got that, and then now for me, what I heard when you were speaking is that okay, now that I know that I'm a child of God, I need to let go of all that other stuff, all that other stuff that I was taught that didn't serve me, that keeps me lowly, keeps me with that feeling of low self-esteem, low self-worth, all that stuff I have to let go of,
let it go,
and begin to operate from a higher consciousness that I am a child of God and that I'm inherently good.
That's right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that there's a phrase out there right now that has become very popular: when we know better, we do better.
Yeah.
Yes. So I am just at that stage because I think I made the point. Well, what took me so long? What took me so long to get to this? It was life, but that's what life is. It is that journey that you go on, and you're on that journey for a purpose. We may not recognize it at the time, but we're on that journey. And it's that journey that I was asking the question, what took so long? But when you're measuring it in time, that's God's time.
Right.
So I wasn't ready until now.
And it's all necessary.
It's all necessary.
All necessary.
It's all necessary to bring us to the reality of who we are and where we're
going. I tell my son that all the time. He's like, Dad, why am I going through this? I said, well, this is what you need to go through in order to get to the other side. The contrast is what brings us into the light most of the time.
Yes.
The more contrast we have, the more we're able to see, you know what? I know what this is. When you don't have any contrast, you don't have anything to compare it to.
That's right.
So the more contrast we have, the more we have to compare. We can say, okay, you know what? I don't like this. This is what I need to do now, and then you can move to the next step. So.
And then the other side of that joy, when you were asking me about what is joy, it's that feeling you have when you have what Oprah Winfrey refers to as that aha moment. That aha moment came to me a few years ago when we talked about moving from darkness to light, and you have to go through some stuff in order to then understand and appreciate where you are today. Think about the Old Testament of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and he created that from the darkness into the light. And then when you go into the New Testament, and don't quote me on this, and I'm terrible at that, but there's a passage I want to say in Matthew's that talks about, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Consciousness. And your thoughts create your world. So that's when I began to really start connecting the dots, and I thought, that made me feel so joyous that I have been able to come to that moment and realize, oh, now I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not happening by osmosis. We're the director. We are the man. We are the person that is creating this stuff, and that's why it's so important to be self-aware.
Self-awareness.
I think that's so important because a lot of times we just go through life. I know before I got into Unity, I was just going through life, not even thinking about what I was thinking about, not realizing that my thoughts were creating the world in which I found myself in. I tell my son in a minute, I don't need to know what you're doing. All I got to do is look at what's going on in your life. I can just look at your world and see.
Exactly.
I can see what's going on. I can see where your mind is.
Isn't that interesting? Because I can, right now, you probably are aware of the fact that I decided to go back into education, and I'm going in as a substitute teacher. But it's so incredibly amazing to me that as the students come into the classroom, I can really watch from their behavior and know almost instinctively where they might be coming from, what world they might be coming from, and what they're bringing with them into the classroom. And that is so incredibly...
We speak from where we at.
Yeah.
So when you speak, you're speaking from where you are in life. You know? When you present yourself, you're presenting yourself from where you are and how you're dealing with the world. And so it's not hard. I mean, sometimes we can be off, and it's not. I try not to do that. I try not to employ those kind of what I think are like. I don't want to call it a gift, but I try not to be judgmental in that way.
Right.
But it is true that. You can tell where a person is based on where.
Yes, and that's the other concept of some of the principles, and one of the powers is discernment. Though we refer to it oftentimes as judgmental, but sometimes that discernment is a gift to be appreciative of and to be grateful for, being able to discern. Because when I say understanding where you're coming from. it helps me to know how to respond.
Exactly.
With compassion or empathy or what have you. So it's that discernment and not judgment
You're absolutely
that we're talking about.
You're absolutely right. So tell me a little bit about the third
self-care.
Self-care.
That's something I'm constantly working on and probably will be forever working on.
I think we all are.
Because we're trying to balance our mind and our body and spirit. And self-care for me has been more of a focus of paying attention to the foods that I eat and how those foods make me feel. And when you start engaging in feelings, you're engaging in thoughts. And so there are times when I recognize, oh gosh, I don't feel so good today. And then I have to stop and think about, well, what did I eat?
I went to give blood today at the VA, and right before I went to give blood, I had some cereal. And I don't eat cereal much, but I just had gotten some cereal and I put a little sugar in it.
Oh, and, no.
When I was fine.
No, there's nothing wrong with sugar, but because I love sugar. But I know if I've had too much sugar, oh my God.
The hand got a little heavy.
Yes.
Because I got the cereal that's not sweetened. And I got the plant-based milk, like that's going to help, right? The plant-based milk is going to help. I got the plant-based, and that's the struggle.
Yes.
Sometimes I look at, that's the self-care struggle right there.
Yes.
Because sometimes I look at my shopping cart, I look at my shopping cart and say, I'm going to practice self-care. And so I have like my plant-based milk, my bananas, my strawberries, and my M&Ms, and my Twizzlers. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God, you're and I'm talking to the choir because I do that too.
You look at the choir, it's like
I got this, water with electrolytes in it.
Right.
But I gotta have my M&M's over on the side too.
And so that right there, I'm pushing the shopping cart, and I can look at the shopping cart and see my struggle in the shopping cart.
Yep.
You can see the struggle. You can see that this guy is struggling with trying to maintain a healthy diet.
Right.
Exactly. And that's a manifestation of what's going on up here.
Yes.
My shopping cart is a manifestation of that.
Exactly.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
It is.
Isn't it?
And I can see it.
Well, yes.
And I look at that and say, damn, you're struggling.
But it's really, and it's about balancing. It really is about balancing. So when we talk about self-care, it's the balance of mind, body, and spirit. And so of mind, to balance that, that's where my meditation and affirmative prayer comes into play. Meditation for me is just a matter of being grateful. So I'm always, first thing in the morning, what am I grateful for? And I am grateful now in this age. I'm just grateful to wake up. So I'm grateful to so many things, to have been here and then to actually survive COVID,
Yeah.
Because when you look at 2.5 years into COVID and not being touched by it, and I'm starting to hear of some of my dearest friends who unfortunately have been vaccinated and boosted up and then still come down with COVID. It's like, okay, what happened? And some of them have gone on. But, it was a matter of, I think, for me being those vibrational levels that we were talking about earlier. I like to think that maybe by my meditation, being grateful, being thankful, I put myself at a higher vibrational frequency. That's above COVID, I hope.
I mean, it's a known fact that, people that have high vibrations, and what we mean by that high vibration is, because, we're talking to people that are not necessarily affiliated with Unity. So it's important that we kind of describe what that means. When you're operating at a low vibration, you're operating from a place of fear. You operate from a place of hate.
Yes.
And when you're operating at a high vibration, you're operating it from love and acceptance, understanding.
Right.
And so, when you're at a low frequency, which is vibration, people that have low frequencies tend to get sick.
Yeah. Yes.
Not only are they have those feelings, but usually when you have those feelings, you're associating yourself in behaviors that'll make you sick.
That's it, exactly. Because when you're having those feelings, they will manifest into some health issues. Yeah.
And you might start doing things that are not healthy for you, and so you're saying that, because you're operating at a high frequency. High vibration, you were not
affected or touched by the fear of having COVID or anything like that. So, and I think that's what got me through it to this day. Now, moving forward, it's a matter of balancing body. So doing those things with exercise and diet that keeps me healthy, keeps me, and being healthy keeps those thoughts positive as well. And so it's just a connection between those two entities, the mind and the body. And then of course spiritual is what I do spiritually, and for me that's my friends in unity, my friends outside of unity who are all on the same thought process, creating a community of like-minded people who are,
I know the difference when you are operating around people like that and when you're operating around people that are not like-minded, that are not operating from that vibration. It's just like that shopping cart we described.
Right,
you know what I mean? You're trying, I've been in situations where I'm trying to, practice new thought and I'm on the right track and I'm doing the right thing, but I'm also got people in my life that are not on that same path.
Exactly.
And that's that struggle that you see in the shopping cart with food. You can see that in your person. I can see that in my personal life sometimes. And so it's important that we not only practice it on a spiritual level, but also on a tangible level with people.
Yes.
So you were mentioning your pretty much. One of the things I like about unity is that we have a name for everything.
Yeah.
And what you're talking about is your spiritual practice.
Yes.
Your spiritual practice. It's important that I name it for our guests.
Yes.
You have a spiritual practice, and a spiritual practice is something that you do. Some people do it every day. Some people do it 3 times a day. But it's something that you do to raise your vibration, to keep you connected, keep the higher consciousness.
Exactly.
And so you're saying that your spiritual practice is?
My spiritual practice is meditation, affirmative prayer, and then, of course, at one time I was very, very active in yoga.
I remember that.
Yes, yes. But COVID came along, and it was kind of isolating, and I'm one of those people that I have to be around people to keep my exercise programs going. And so when I was isolated, I found myself looking for yoga classes on videos, and I would go into them for about 10 minutes. But I'm a person who used to practice, believe it or not, hot yoga for an hour and a half in a studio where the temperatures were 105 degrees, and you were just that sweat was a representation for me of letting go. Taking out all those impurities and toxins. And you have to really be careful about what you're eating too when you're doing that kind of a practice. So that was part of my practice when I talk about balancing between mind, body, and spirit. And then of course there is that spirit of being connected to what your absolute truth is.
So remember, we're talking about enthusiasm, and we're talking about how to maintain that. And we're saying that the first thing that we need to do is self-aware. The second thing that we need to do is let go of things that no longer serve us.
That's right.
And the third thing is we're talking about self-care.
Self-care.
And that's like a spiritual practice, stuff that we do on a regular basis to
Exactly.
stay at a high frequency.
Exactly.
And so what is that last step, Audrey?
That last step for me is
enthusiasm.
Communications. And it's also implementation. It is taking all of those things that you've created in your world and effectively communicating it and implementing it. For example, when I talk about the joy that I have come to realize after getting to know who I am, it's like, so what will be my good today? And so I look at each day and I have a list of things that I want to get done. And when I look at how I'm going to go about getting those things done, it's just one question I ask. What is my good today? And my good today is, for me, bringing joy is working with others. What is it that I can do to make someone else's life better? And what is it that I can do that's going to make my life better as well? And that joy comes from working with others to affect a real tangible, let's say, solution to whatever the problem might be. And if we can make that happen, that's good to me.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I find challenging for me is, you say working with people. The populations that I tend to work with are populations that are troubled.
Yeah.
And those populations tend to lower my frequency because I'm around it constantly. You know, so if I'm working with homeless people, I'm working with people who are addicted, or I'm working with, you know, mothers, like single parents, you know, that have a whole bunch of difficulties, or hungry people. That energy, all the time can lower my frequency. And so I remember when I didn't have principles, when I wasn't practicing the unity principles, it was really tough for me.
Yeah, and it can be too, because like I said, I came into Unity long after I was a young adult, and I had been relocated from Chattanooga to Houston at this point, and I was introduced by a colleague in my workplace who invited me to come to Unity of Houston. I'll never forget that. And I approached this spiritual center, which, by the way, the building was like a pyramid, and I even thought, is this a cult? And a lot of people think today that Unity is a cult. But once I got inside, and I'll always be grateful and remember Reverend Howard Caesar, because that particular Sunday he was teaching a lesson on actually, it was about getting over your struggles. And he used David and Goliath, the parable from the Bible. But he presented it in such a way that I had never heard it that way before. And it was about Goliath representing these insurmountable odds that you have to overcome. And David was this little guy with a slingshot. Now, growing up, I always thought, how did a little bitty guy with a slingshot bring down this giant of a man? But from a metaphysical perspective, as Unity teaches, that was about how you overcome your struggles. And I was hooked after that.
I mean, and that's one of the things I love about Unity. It's like the metaphysical interpretation is more about how do I describe that? Like, it's more about the parables are more about.
It's a story the way I think of it in my translations. It's just a story of ancient times that are still being told today. It is a guide for guiding your life.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, that metaphysical perspective, you can for me, I can identify with it more. And as opposed, okay, so this is about me learning how to deal with situations that seem big. And I'm like this little guy. How can I? It's more. It's practical.
It's practical.
When I just think about David and Goliath, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to hear this.
And that's what Unity means by practical practices, progressive practices, you know? And so, and even with this, I love this t-shirt. Thank you, by the way.
You're welcome.
And I like yours too.
Oh, they can't see mine.
But, we're just so inclusive in everything that we do. So,
before we end, I want tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. Are you doing anything in the community now?
Thank you for asking, because part of my growing through Unity, and then of course being out in the community, and I'm bringing all these principles together, I thought, what can be my good today? Well, I'm a numbers person, and I'm always data mining. And when I discovered several years ago, which is still the case today, that African American children are 5 times more likely to die in swimming pools compared to other cultures. And I thought, now why is that?
No, we don't. I just swim.
Because we don't swim. And we certainly don't want to mess up our hair. So, and I was one who always loved to swim, and of course, swimming was part of my college courses, so I had to learn how to swim if I wanted to pass this class, and so.
And I think it's also about access too.
Having access.
I mean, like I was in the projects, there was no water around,
and
and mom and dad worked all the time, so they didn't have time to.
Somebody could take to classes, and so that's where CAP came from. That idea of giving young urban as well as rural children. We don't want to discriminate. We're just saying, here is an opportunity, and it's a collaborative effort. So this is a nonprofit, the Chattanooga Aquatic Project and Personal Development, that's going to require collaboration with all entities that are there for the holistic development of the child. We're doing it through aquatics and personal development workshops.
I understand. That's so
Teaching
cool.
young people how to swim and how to scuba dive.
Mm-hmm.
And then exposing them to the world around them with regards to marine life and the wonders of the marine life. Because at the same time, we've got marine life that's becoming extinct, like the sea turtles, the whales, and the coral reefs along the coastal waters of Florida. That's all science. And so the correlation with working with the schools in hopes of getting this type of workshop incorporated into the curriculum of our public school system, hopefully, eventually, and let these children who are seeing in their textbooks these terminologies with regards to marine biology and other science projects and math and technology and engineering, then they can apply practical applications through their swimming and diving and, other things that come with that. The benefits of becoming part of the aquatic programs is to become a licensed scuba diver, become a licensed water safety instructor, and create more lifeguards for the summer programs at our community centers that have swimming pools.
Yeah, and also this is a character development. Also,
it's very much character development.
And I'm almost sure there's going to be some spiritual components to it as well. Yeah, definitely there's spiritual components to that. But before we do you want to give our viewers your contact information of your website of your program? Or
well, thank you for that. Yes, if you are interested in, and this is for the children as well as parents. If you're interested in learning how to swim or scuba dive or any of the workshops, go out on our website at www.chataquatics.org, and there is a button for there's a menu button that takes you to the different events that are coming up. Right now, we are in the launching stage of the Chattanooga Aquatic Project and personal development. But if you're looking for summer activities, this is going to be considered an after-school summer camp program coming up in the new year. Just go out to www.chataquatics.org and look at our schedules and stay aware of what's coming up soon.
Well, thank you for that. And before we end, I just want to remind our viewers that this podcast is primarily about raising our vibration, helping us to reach a higher consciousness, to be more Christ-like. Jesus' last name wasn't Christ.
That's
right. You said that at the service the other day.
We've so often said Jesus Christ.
That's his last
like
name.
His
it's
last
not.
Name. It's
and
not.
Christ is a consciousness. It's a high consciousness, and we are all capable of reaching that consciousness.
Exactly.
And a part of this, the reason why we broadcast this podcast is for that reason. Give us tools to reach that Christ consciousness.
Yes.
And one of the tools that we gave today is the ability to maintain enthusiasm. And the way that we do that is by practicing the 4 steps that Audrey laid out, which are self-awareness. You want to
self-awareness and letting go, and then self-care and communications and implementation.
So if you want to know more about that, if you have any questions about that, feel free to email us at contact@Unity of Chattanooga. I'm going to put that up right now. I should have had that already up there. Where is it? Contact. Move this other one from here real quick. For more information about that enthusiasm or talk, or if you have any questions for us, you can reach us at contact@unityofchattanooga.org. And also subscribe to our Facebook page, Unity of Chattanooga, on Facebook. And we also have a Friends of Unity of Chattanooga Facebook group.
Yes.
And people that are not a part of the Facebook page, we have several hundred Friends of Unity group members. And so you're welcome to join that page as well. We have a lot of positive information on that page, ways to raise your consciousness, and we have information on different events that we're having in the community. So you're welcome to join that group. I mean, also, if you want to donate, I'm just going to put that up real quick. While I'm putting that up, do you have anything else before we end, Audrey?
I just want to thank you again for this opportunity to talk about Chattanooga Aquatic Project and to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is the art of enthusiasm, how we can keep our vibrational energies at that highest level possible.
We are so much responsible for ourselves. No one's going to do this for us.
And there's so much going on in our society and in our world today that this is a practice that is very much needed, I believe, today. What the world needs now is love. And what can I say?
Again, I want to thank Audrey Ramsey for coming out. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, with another Midweek Faith Lift. And also, we'll be at the Red Bank Community Center this coming Sunday. And Reverend Doug will be back. Okay. I'm not sure what his talk is going to be about. I'll get with him, but I'm sure it's going to be something interesting.
It's always something interesting.
And then Doug will be joining me next week, Wednesday, for our Midweek Faith Lift. All right, guys. Audrey, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I want to say
goodbye.
Yeah, thank you. Goodbye.